Hello there, I'm Gloria Makarenko. While with BC in step 2 of its restart plan, there is even more we can do now. This is Our Vancouver. Coming up, it may be called Old Bird, but a Main Street restaurant has just been named a game changer by the Chinese Restaurant Awards. We're going to check in with their chef to see what's cooking. And how 2 artists are keeping Filipino calligraphy and tribal ink alive through tattoos. But first, pushing for better Indigenous representation in fashion. You know, lately it seems that we've been seeing more diverse ethnic representation in the world of fashion. And a new modeling agency wants to push that further by dedicating itself to developing Indigenous talent. It's called Supernaturals, and Patrick Shannon is one of the co-founders. Patrick, hello there.
Searchlight, good day. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for making time for us. So where did all this start? What inspired you to launch this new modeling agency?
Yeah, it's been an exciting time. This kind of came from years of working in the fashion and media industries within Vancouver. And through all those years as being a professional photographer and filmmaker, I met my co-founder, Jolene Mitten, who is an amazing community member in the Vancouver Indigenous community, but also was an international model for many, many years before founding Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week. And so we built a strong connection, started working a lot with aspiring young Indigenous models, former kids in care who needed other opportunities. And so Jolene became an amazing person there. But then after continuing to talk about it and seeing the challenges that a lot of our models are facing in the industry and still asking the question, why are we not seeing meaningful representation as far as we should be seeing it? And so we came up with the idea to create our own agency where we can start advocating and supporting Indigenous models to enter and thrive in this industry.
Okay, well, you mentioned some of the challenges they were facing. So when it comes to Indigenous models or designers, what kinds of challenges were they?
Yeah, so when it comes to some of the challenges, there's a couple of them. Like the first one is just the barriers that are put in place for Indigenous people to even be able to get a foot in the door with the industry. Often when you come from a reserve or you come from a remote community, there's also that big culture shock there because you have to come to a big city to be able to work in this kind of industry. And even then, there are so many different factors in play when it comes to needing extra supports because we come from a specific and unique context and background compared to most Canadians. And so our needs and our experiences are something that needs to be brought into consideration before even moving forward. And so even things like being able to access portfolios and photographers and even get your book started, there's just a lot of barriers there. And once you do get your foot into the industry, there's traditionally just been a lot of misrepresentation. There's been a lot of microaggressions, just a lot of even discrimination that our models have faced. And many of the models that we've worked with have shared stories of difficult experiences they've had with previous agencies, previous shoots, where their skin tone would be lightened to the point where they're not even recognizable as Indigenous people anymore, or demanding that their hair be cut, even though many of our models, that's a sacred thing that we only cut our hair at certain points in our life. And so there's just been a lot of barriers that we're hoping to overcome by really starting to advocate as Indigenous people and having that cultural understanding.
So therefore, you have the birth of Supernaturals. You put it out there, the word gets spread. What kind of response have you had?
It's been absolutely amazing. We've had so many fantastic clients reach out wanting to work with us. We're really excited to work with clients that are really interested in moving forward that needle of reconciliation when it comes to being able to help provide opportunities with in a context that aligns with their values and that allows for that healthy representation. So on the client side, the response has been great. The community reception has been even stronger with so many people reaching out and supporting us. And we've had over 150 model applications from all across North America. And not only just having all these amazing diversity of faces that want us to work with them and represent them, but also just the words that people have been saying. So many people have acknowledged and said that they could never even have imagined themselves pursuing anything like modeling or being represented in media because they just didn't see enough of us doing it in a meaningful way. And so I think the numbers just speak for themselves. Hundreds of people are being inspired now to pursue something they never even thought possible before, and not just in entertainment, but also in other fields where Indigenous people haven't traditionally been represented.
Well, it's cool to hear that you're getting this kind of interest from not just across the country, but across the continent. What kinds of obstacles or challenges does that pose for you? You know, just logistically to hook them up with shoots or shows or that type of thing.
Yeah, it's been definitely something we weren't expecting to have this much demand. So our focus has to be over on the West Coast where we're launching, but of course we're only 3 weeks old. And the models that we're currently working with, we have an opening roster of 9 models here. Well, we started with 8 and we brought on 1 more since, and we've got a lot more models we're working with. So just out of logistics, we're working on the West Coast in Vancouver here, but we're really hoping to expand our representation across the country into the United States. And so it's really exciting living and working in a time like this where so much pre-work can be done. So a client can be in Toronto or Montreal, and whether shoots happen here or there, we're going to be going down to Santa Fe Indian Market to represent with our models, which is really exciting. So there's a lot of opportunity, and the barriers don't seem to be as insurmountable as they were before.
That's good to hear. Now, what about clients? Do you have any particular criteria in deciding who you'd like your models to work with?
Yes, we do. Every single client that we work with is going to be vetted and has essentially needs to align with our values. One thing that we really have to pay attention to is making sure that we work with clients that aren't actively involved in anything that could compromise the well-being of our models. And when I say that, I mean making sure that we're not putting our models into a situation where they can be scrutinized or attacked for being the face of something that maybe goes against the values or work being done within our own communities. It's by the nature of many things that just being born Indigenous these days is a political act, and we have a lot more scrutiny under anything that we do. And so part of this is making sure that we work with these clients, as I mentioned, that are really interested in having meaningful representation and moving away from just tokenism or stereotyping, and actually having clients that want to have us represent as people, where we're really starting to showcase who we are without the need for all this other Indigenous context. We're just people. And that's really, really exciting to be able to work with them and also set protocols, how to work with Indigenous people in a respectful way and build these relationships. And I think that's going to set a precedent as far as how people move forward and build these strong relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in this country.
Well, Patrick, it sounds as if you're off to a really strong start. We wish you all the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Hawa.
Hi, my name is Alexia, and you're watching Our Vancouver.
Now, as part of BC's reopening plan, the curtains will go up at arts venues around the city, with a limited audience, of course. But as Isabel Regam is finding out, as happy as arts groups are, some are taking their time in welcoming people back.
After months behind closed doors, get your popcorn ready. It's showtime in BC.
It has definitely been a difficult year and a half, but we're very optimistic.
As of tomorrow, empty movie theaters across the province can once again welcome guests. Audiences can also visit live theaters. It comes as the province announced organized indoor gatherings can welcome up to 50 guests for Phase 2.
And I will say that a capacity of 50 is not a recipe for financial sustainability in the theatre, but it is a start.
Vancouver's Arts Club Theatre Company says it won't be able to resume right away. It's setting the stage for next month.
We're hopeful that we can have more than 50 people by the time we get to July 22nd when we start performances, but we're prepared to have that capacity.
You can now also add indoor concerts to your list of summer plans. Physical distancing and masks are still required. Here at Performance Works on Granville Island, the doors are still locked, but they are preparing to open them up later this month.
So the last time that we actually had real audiences in this room was in June of 2019.
This next phase is music to the ears of performers. The TD Vancouver International Jazz Festival launches June 25th. They were ready for a stream-only show, but now musicians will get to perform in person.
I think having an audience there inspires artists to, do their best and take it to the next level, and some really, especially with jazz, some really creative improvisation and interplay between people.
Banquet halls can also host 50 people, and that capacity could go up July 1st for Phase 3. That's when casinos and nightclubs could also open. Isabel Regam, CBC News, Vancouver.
All right, it's time for one of our favorite features of the program when we get to showcase some of the photographs sent in by you, our audience. Now, Dan Van Dormal captured these circles of ice floating on Kamloops Lake at Cooney Bay. It's actually called pancake ice. It appears when smooth ice bump into each other and form round, raised edges like lily pads. That is really cool. And Bindu Mohan spotted this hummingbird on Grant Hill in Maple Ridge. Just beautiful, Bindu. Thank you. And finally, Norm Stack came across this trio, including a flamenco dancer near Vancouver's Maritime Museum. So nice to see them out and about. Just lovely. And do send us more when you're out with your camera. Email your favorite photographs to us at bcphotos@cbc.ca. bcphotos@cbc.ca. Now, once again, grade 12 students across the province are graduating under rather unusual circumstances. Schools and staff have had to get creative for students to celebrate the big milestone. And our John Hernandez visited a high school in Surrey where those taking to the stage made the most of the big day.
Between the tie, the hat, and the gown, not to mention the mask, putting the grad outfit together is no easy task. But with a little help from Mom, grade 12 student Braden Mayencourt is ready to take the walk.
Here it is, graduation day. You got your gown on. What's going through your mind right now?
Don't fall on stage. That's about it.
It's the end of a school year like no other. Here at Fleetwood Park Secondary in Surrey, students like Mayencourt have had to adjust.
Biggest changes would probably be the online stuff. That was really difficult, as well as not getting to be around the people that I've made such great friendships with on a daily basis.
A year filled with cohorts, learning groups, and exposure notices.
This has been a really hard year for our grads and all of our students.
That's why staff wanted to give students a day to remember. This corridor was transformed into a graduation hall, spaced out for small groups of students and their families.
I think I'm very fortunate considering last year a lot of parents didn't have this opportunity. I think it's fantastic. It's a big step in my kid's life, and I'm really thankful to be able to be here.
The commencement speeches might be virtual, but the stage is real, and so are the emotions that come with turning the page.
It's not quite being scared, but it's a little bit of the jitters for having to let go and leave to the next stage of life.
For Mayencourt, the next stage is college in the U.S., where he'll play baseball and study to become a teacher. It's all part of a bigger plan that leads right back here.
It's a great school. A lot of who I am is from Fleetwood, and I'm super grateful for this building and all of the people inside of it.
A family tradition that he hopes to carry on well beyond the pandemic. John Hernandez, CBC News, Surrey.
Coming up, how a cross-stitcher found art in the maps and symbols of meteorology. Johanna Wagstaff will introduce us to Bettina Matskun right after this.
There were mare's tails in the sky and cat's paws on the water. Shafshin, my mother called the woolly lamb-like herds of altocumulus.
Vancouver artist Bettina Matskun first became fascinated with weather while sailing with her father on weekends here in British Columbia. Her series, Weathering, explores the maps and symbolic systems of meteorology. Now that is some art I can get behind.
So the pieces are painted, embroidered, have things sewn on them. I cut up my old Gore-Tex jacket to make arrows. There's like bootlace cord, but mostly it's embroidered.
Meteorologist Uwe Grammen, a bit of a weather guru out here, helped Matskoon decipher the language of meteorology.
I looked at weather maps at different websites and just mined it for the imagery that you would look at every day with an increased understanding. I mean, most of it I don't understand, but it's like a glimpse into what's going on above our heads.
Then she learned about map projections. That is the different ways to flatten a globe's surface into a plane in order to make a map, and potentially my secret obsession. One of these is the Waterman butterfly projection that aims to display the world without distorting the shapes of its continents. And the map is shaped like a butterfly.
And when I saw the Waterman butterfly, it was just like a light bulb went off. I think it's part of an artist's job to make connections between disparate things.
The German word for butterfly is Schmetterling, which also means fragile.
The idea of the atmosphere conflated with something that's very fragile that you could hold in your hand and crush, is to me kind of sobering.
And indeed, her work is a reminder of the delicate balance of our atmosphere and climate change. However, Matskoon says that's not the top question she gets asked about her work.
It's the how long does it take you question, because I think to a lot of people, they just couldn't imagine spending that amount of time on something. But like, nobody questions you when you watch reruns of Seinfeld or stuff, so it's time to me is just an ingredient like, baking soda.
Probably a few weeks for each one of those butterflies is the answer. And in that time, the weather has probably swirled on west to east, circling back around the globe, perhaps with the help of a flap of a butterfly wing. And now you're science smart. If you have a science question, send me a tweet. I'll try to get it answered.
Johanna, thank you so much. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, for 14 years, the Chinese Restaurant Awards have recognized the best in Metro Vancouver. And this year, they've also highlighted 4 restaurants as game changers. So one of them is Old Bird on Main Street. And Adriel Lee is the chef. Adriel, hello there.
Hi, Gloria. How are you?
I'm doing very well. This is pretty cool because Lee Mann says that he picked your restaurant, Old Bird, and 3 others for your vision and your unique offering. So how would you describe Old Bird's vision?
Old Bird vision is really introducing our culture and taking street food, presenting it a little differently, and hopefully everybody can get a taste and enjoy food that I have grown up with.
Nice. Okay. And speaking of food you've grown up with, what's there in front of you? That looks like a pretty nice spread. What's your approach to your dishes?
The approach is really simple. We just want to highlight local ingredients and plating out, a more traditional Chinese flavors without muddying it up with getting into fusion, right? In front of me here, we have a few products. We have our chili wonton, a ragu, and our cauliflower and friends. We really wanted to showcase these items because you can also buy these from Spud. We have our chili oil, tingly spice, chili wonton, and brand new, you're going to hear it here first, the Taiwanese pork ragu. We will be supplying that as early as next week.
Hey, wait a second. You're giving people a reason not to come into your restaurant, to take it home and do it themselves?
Well, I mean, we are game changers, right? And I think that it was very generous that we were able to receive this award. But ultimately, I think everybody in the hospitality industry this past year and a half, we're all game changers, really.
Yeah, okay. Now, what about the dishes that you've prepared there? Can you take us through some of them?
Yeah, so this is the chili wonton. It's got some chili wonton crisp on top. With this, we're really highlighting the wontons themselves, which is a pork dumpling. In it, we have our Old Bird chili oil, which we make in-house. This is our pork ragu. Like I said, once again, it could be a brand new product that you can pick up from Spud. But yeah, we here right now serve it with a sunny side up egg. Traditionally, I guess you would serve it more with just a boiled egg or a marinated egg. We wanted to give it a little bit more depth and texture to the dish, so we went with a fried egg. Over here, we have the cauliflower and friends, which is just a medley of seasonal vegetables, and we coat it with our tingly spice, which honestly, you can put that on anything.
Okay. Oh, I like the idea of the tingly spice. That sounds good already. Sign me up. Did you want to prepare something for us?
Absolutely. Today, I'm going to prepare a dan dan noodle for you. All right. We already have everything kind of cooked up. It's very simple. It's a recent addition to our menu. For summertime, we wanted to make sure that there is an offering that we can serve out on the patio that is suitable with the hot weather. So this is a chilled noodle dish with our dan dan sauce. Dan dan sauce is a sesame-based sauce. We definitely have kicked it up with our chili oil. And these noodles here, they are cooked and chilled. I'm just going to add that on top of the sauce.
I love the idea of a chilled soup in the summertime, because there's nothing on a cold winter's day, nothing like a hot soup, but I hadn't really considered the cold soup option, but why not?
Yeah, well, this is almost more so like a noodle salad, like a chilled noodle salad, right? The sauce, it does pack a lot of heat in the sense of spice, right? And that will also help you kind of cool down in the summer months as well.
What are you putting
on
there?
With the hot weather coming in soon. Yeah, so this is our own mixture of chickpeas, mushrooms, and carrots. We use the organic Oyster King mushrooms, just from Oyster and King, actually. They literally just dropped this off not long ago. So yeah, we're putting it right into the dish. It's supposed to help give it a little bit more of the meatiness.
Okay, well, now that you're going down that road, more of a meatiness, but that's actually a vegan cold soup, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It's a vegan cold noodle dish. Traditionally, you would have minced pork or some sort of other meat in the sauce. But we decided to go with a vegan version because we wanted to make sure that we are inclusive in everybody's dietary needs. Right now, I just put on the bean sprouts and some pickled onions. We're going to throw on some cilantro and watermelon radish. And that is about it.
That is gorgeous.
Just need to mix it and dig in. Yeah.
A perfect summer dish. I agree. And you don't use MSG in your cooking either. What do you do instead?
We do not use MSG. Instead, we find alternatives that has a lot of the glutamic acid, right? And that way we can still elevate our dishes with that umami-ness without adding any crystallized MSG.
That umami-ness, I like that. I like that word too. So if you're catering as well to a vegan crowd, what else do you use for meat substitutes? Is it tofu or something else?
Absolutely, we do use tofu as well as a protein substitute, but right now we're kind of trying to dive into an egg substitute, and my partner chef and I, we are trying to recreate an egg texture with mung bean potentially.
Okay, well, I know that you haven't opened yet for the crowds that are certainly to come, but I do see some dividers on the booths there, Adriel. How are you doing with stage 2 COVID opening?
we are very excited for stage 2. Of course, we will be, treading with caution, right? We don't want to, potentially jeopardize the community and go back to stage 1 or anything. So we are definitely crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, making sure that everybody's safe. Whether you're a guest or you are an employee, a staff member, we're taking all precautions.
Nice. Well, it's good to know people can eat at Old Bird again. Adriel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Nathalie, vous regardez notre Vancouver.
A lot of musicians who normally play to packed crowds have had to adapt during the pandemic. 5 Alarm Funk is among those taking their first small, safe steps back to performing to a live audience. Just 20 lucky people are going to get to see them in person at Burnaby's Shadbolt Centre, Thursday, June 24th. Everyone else can stream their concert live online. So tickets are $20 to see them live, $10 for online. For more information, just call their box office 604-205-3000. Now, in addition to big names like Dee Daniels, Jill Barber, Snotty Nose Rez Kids, the Vancouver International Jazz Festival will also offer small, in-person indoor audiences at Performance Works and the Ironworks. The daytime shows are free. The festival runs June 25th to July 4th. And for a full list of all the shows, live or online, free or ticketed, go to coastaljazz.ca.
Hey, it's Grant Lawrence here from CBC Music with another huge update on CBC Music's Toyota Searchlight 2021. A few months ago, when we opened up this year's hunt for Canada's best undiscovered musical talent, we received thousands of original song entries from every genre imaginable, from artists in every province and territory. And now we're down to the top 10 national finalists. 7 made it in from our judges' picks, and 3 on the list made it in from your votes.
You've been running around, wasting my time. You play a stupid game and you win a stupid prize. Not this time. I flew across the world and it knocked you down to a size.
Making the Searchlight Top 10, that is Riel from Edmonton, who already has all kinds of crazy international top 40 success in the electronic dance world, and now she's trying her hand at pop, and it's landed her in the finals. Now, have a listen to this. That's Elise Saunders from Peterborough, a country artist on a rapid giddy-up all over YouTube and Spotify and everywhere else, it seems, from her hometown in Ontario all the way to Nashville. Now, check this one out.
I would rather drink and spiral till I don't know what's real. Go numb to the things that I feel. Oh, I go.
That is Jive, and that was just a bit of his Searchlight song, Down, that's landed him into the top 10. And those are just 3 of the artists that have made it into the national top 10 of CBC Music's Toyota Searchlight for 2021. Check out and discover the entire top 10 for yourself at cbc.ca/searchlight. And hey, your job is done. Thank you very much. There's no more public voting. Now it's all up to our panel of esteemed music industry judges to pick 1 grand prize winner and 4 runners-up. And that announcement will be made on Tuesday, June 22nd. Once again, all you need to know about Searchlight, including all of our fabulous prizes, can be found at cbc.ca/searchlight. I'm Grant Lawrence. Congratulations to this year's top 10, and I'll check in with you again next week.
Coming up, how the art of tattoos is helping keep traditional Filipino culture alive. Welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Macarenko. Now, two Filipino tattoo artists are reclaiming distinct styles of Filipino calligraphy and tribal artwork through modern and ancient styles of tattooing. Our John Paulo Mendoza caught up with the artists as part of the CBC's Mabuhay BC series.
These Filipino tattoo artists are keeping their heritage alive with a modern twist. Romeo Reyes tattoos custom Babayan scripts. Babayan is a style of writing used in the Philippines before Spanish colonization. This design roughly translates to the word grace in English.
But I know most parents, like their generation, they're kind of against tattoos, or they see it as like a criminal thing, right? Like, oh, you're in a gang if you got it, or you went to jail. But basically, since the beginning, all Filipinos were tattooed. We were never Catholic or Christian. That was brought upon us or forced upon us by the Spanish, like because of colonialism, right? And even King Philip, when he saw the Philippines, he called it the island of the painted people, or the painted ones. I think La Isla de Pintados or something, because everyone was tattooed. Learning about it, I'm like, whoa, that's so beautiful, you know? Like the writing is so dope, and like tattooing, I find that like Filipino Canadians, like we crave that connection to like our roots.
Mayo Lendicho is keeping tradition alive with a tattoo style known as batok. The ink is tapped into the skin using a needle at the end of a stick. Indigenous Filipino communities use these tattoos before colonization to identify one's tribe and life achievements.
Your whole story goes here. The pattern also goes repetitive because it's been, like they were saying, that it's been passed down from generation to generation, right?
The designs are chosen based on the flora and fauna from the region of the Philippines where the client's family hails from.
Art is a basic form. It's purely, you know, your intention and your artistry. I believe in those things. For me, it's, you know, nothing better than being organic and feel what's in your heart and your mind, just put it and draw it up.
There's a growing interest from younger Filipinos in these pre-colonial styles of art.
I got it so that I could connect to my ancestors, let them know that I'm looking to establish a connection. And then Mayo gave me markings that are, they originate in the province that my mom is from. So in Visaya, or the region that my mom is from.
The artists are motivated by a desire to keep these practices alive.
Because of like colonialism, this and like a lot of other parts of the culture have been pretty much like wiped away, right? And this is something that needs to be shared, you know? And whenever I tell like fellow Filipinos, especially like younger people about this, they get excited. They're like, what? We have our own writing system? That's so cool.
The batok technique is passed down orally. Today, it is only practiced by a handful of people around the world. Landicho says he eventually hopes to pass his skills on to the right artist.
That's what my goal is, you know, to keep the tradition alive and all this art form, right? I don't want this wonderful thing to just perish and, you know, gone.
John Paulo Mendoza, CBC News, Vancouver.
Coming up, how the killing of 4 members of a Muslim family in London, Ontario is being felt by Muslims here in Metro Vancouver. Hi, welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Macarenko. Many Muslims in Metro Vancouver are sharing a newfound fear of walking outside their homes and just along the street. This after 4 members of a Muslim family were struck and killed in London, Ontario, in what police are describing as a targeted attack on their faith. The CBC's Zara Premji, a Muslim herself, walks us through the questions circulating for the community and what some are asking for.
This is my home. This is where I was born. My Muslim identity, it's something I'm so proud of. But admittedly, there are times where I fear it. I don't want to show off my clothing. I don't want to show off my language. When I hear my grandparents speak our language, I say, stop, speak English. People are looking. But my Muslim identity is something I am proud of. I love going for walks as well, and I know many others do. But in one instant, that changed.
When you see people that look like you murdered in cold blood while taking a walk, it's you feel guilty. We're used to seeing people like us be murdered.
This could happen to anyone. It did make me question, how do we feel about walking?
I was scared, my God, because I am a Muslim too, and my skin is brown, so I was walking every time. So I was thinking, what shall I do if I walk every day? What will happen?
It's unbearable. You don't know. In our faith, we believe that we belong to God, right? And that, we belong to God, and to Him we shall return. And we don't know when that is, but it's debilitating to think that if I leave today, will I come home?
Ismailis, Muslim, Hindus, all are same. Why we have to kill innocent people like that?
What is it that caused you to believe that Muslim people are evil?
As my grandparents, I often worry about you going for walks, but now I have this attitude here that you're senior and you're Muslim, you're brown-skinned and you're walking. Do you feel this fear that I'm feeling?
Yes, same thing we feel like that. We are scared.
It's definitely made me question how I look when I'm walking down the street. I actually grew my beard out over the last year, and that's made me feel even more visible as a brown person.
Walking the street with my hijab, this is what my struggle is, and I do it with pride. This is my identity. How much more do I need to assimilate? I speak English, I speak French. I was born and raised here. This is my identity. This hijab is who I am, and under no circumstances would I ever change that.
An event like this, although changes how we approach our walking, but I don't think that's going to stop us from walking. It's certainly not going to stop me.
I'm really scared, but they won't change my life.
We will keep walking. We are Muslims, I know that, but I will keep courage and I will walk.
I'm Zara Premji for CBC News in Vancouver.
A lack of rain this spring in BC's southern interior has turned some areas bone dry. And emergency planners say the drought conditions could mean a busy summer wildfire season. As the CBC's Brady Strachan reports, they are urging farmers and ranchers to prepare now.
These are the BC apple ambrosias, found in a farm here in Costin.
Mike Dowell tends to the apple trees on his farm just north of the U.S. border in the Similkameen. The warm spring this year means the crop is ahead of schedule. It's also been unusually dry, and that doesn't bode well for the upcoming wildfire season. Just last week, a fire broke out just north of his farm when a utility company's equipment malfunctioned. The BC Wildfire Service was able to put out the fire, but Dowell says it was a tense couple of hours. The last thing he and his neighbors want is to be displaced during the busy growing season.
We haven't been through an evacuation, thankfully, but we have been through an alert, so we know how to be ready, how to be prepared, and we just carry forward.
The Okanagan region has had an unusually dry spring. That has led to severe drought conditions in some areas, which dries out grasses and other vegetation. In turn, the fire danger rating in some areas is already at high to extreme. Emergency planners say we could be in for a busy wildfire season. This week, the local regional district held seminars for farmers and ranchers on wildfire preparedness.
The key to being prepared for a wildfire is preparing in advance, having a plan, and having a plan can take away the stress if there is a wildfire.
So in case of fire...
Evelyn Campbell knows that kind of stress. Her winery south of Penticton was threatened by an out-of-control fire last summer.
We really didn't expect that it was going to spread. So as it did, it was still very surreal, but eventually we got the notice that we had to evacuate.
The fire crested the ridge above the winery and destroyed a house in a nearby rural neighborhood.
Seeing everything happen overnight with the whole hillside up in flames, it was quite frightening.
She's thankful firefighters were able to put out the blaze and save her winery. But the stress and disruption to her business is not something she wants to live through again. Brady Strachan, CBC News, Penticton.
Now this week, we have a little bit of a mystery that we're hoping that you could help us solve. 10 years ago, after the Canucks lost Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals, there were a lot of people that hit the streets. They smashed windows, turned over cars, set some cars on fire. And in our next story by Susana Da Silva, you will also see some good Samaritans, with a focus on one in particular. And to this day, we do not know who she is. But if you know, let us know. We'll tell you how to contact us right after the story.
You should be ashamed of yourself! You should be ashamed of yourself!
In amongst the chaos, there are a few who decided to take a stand. This woman determined to prevent another one of these.
I don't know this car. I don't know whose car it is, but I'm not leaving this car. You know why? Canadian values. Watch out! Are you serious? What is wrong with people?
A few others tried to help her, but the rioters kept coming. She wasn't alone. A few meters up the street, another woman tries to protect a car. It was a story that played out block after block.
You're an adult, you should know better.
With people who were clearly having a good time, no amount of reasoning seemed to work.
Well, we're trying. All we can do is try and stop them from breaking stuff, right? It's crazy. It's just absolutely nuts.
But because of a few people's efforts, stores like this were saved. Owner Franco Negro got a call from one of the Good Samaritans.
They had prevented the vandals from, they formed a bit of a chain and stopped people from breaking the window. So I got very lucky last night.
But many weren't so lucky. In the end, forced to give up by the mob.
So once again, if you recognize that Good Samaritan at the top of that story, our reporter Susana Da Silva would really like to know, so you can email her at the address there on the screen. And that's all for our Vancouver for this week. I hope you can join me weekday afternoons for On the Coast on CBC Radio 1. Goodbye for now.